Hey everyone, Chloe here, and welcome back to this feminine space. And welcome back to this channel. And if you are new here, ladies and lurkers and ear hustlers, welcome. And for a bit of house cleaning, and only if you care, please like this video if you want more content on understanding how power dynamics work in romantic relationships. Now, getting right into it, now that all of the white noise has settled, I wanted to unpack this Ashanti and Irv Gotti utterly disrespectful situation and power play case study, and to share some feminine perspective on how lopsided power works and the exploitation of an older married man who involved himself with an ambitious, career-driven young woman that he still feels to this day that he owns. And a few feathers may be ruffled to hear these very necessary lessons, but I am never surprised when an insecure man disrespects what he perceives in his mind to be a woman that he perceives as his forever conquest and his concubine. Now, to give those of you who are in the dark a bit of a backstory, business mogul, producer, Muppet Baby, and founder of the Murder Inc. rap label, Irv Gotti, who is now 52, who decided to throw Princess Boss archetype Ashanti, who will be 42 this year, but Irv most recently decided to throw their fling of over 20 years ago on the very popular Revolt TV show Drink Champs by shamelessly publicly dragging, smutting out, and debasing her name, all in the name of clout chasing, and in order to garner some tongue-wagging interest in his very mid 5-part documentary series on BET called The Murder Inc. Story. Now, strategically, this was at best a very cocky and arrogant locker room, boys will be boys, cheap stunt, and snake move for sure. But from an insecure runt weasel like Irv Gotti, who seems to be intoxicated with his very shallow ego, this is to be expected. Irv Gotti, like most street hustlers, is commendably a started from the bottom, get it out of the mud type of businessman. But the stunt that he pulled at his big age is such a clear demonstration of how low he is on the bandwidth of maturity and emotional intelligence. And for the most part, in my opinion, and this is purely anecdotal, but Irv Gotti is such a boring presence who has the charisma of a potted plant. And in my opinion, he's just a typical Chihuahua barker. And for those of you who don't know, a Chihuahua barker is a person who has a strong, insecure spirit and who doesn't like being both ignored and rejected. And as a sidebar, the manosphere is full of Chihuahua barkers and low-value cornballs who buy microphones for the specific purpose of attacking women. And Ashanti, like most hungry younger women who are looking for a come up, and back then she was only 19, she decided to involve herself with an ambitious married man in exchange for a singing career, and to that end, she accomplished her goal. But I am never surprised at any cheater who openly chooses to disrespect his concubine, because in his eyes, she was just a trinket, a money-making notch on his belt, and a 2-for-1 deal. And at that time, Irv had both a wife and several mistresses, which is essentially the misogyny 101 of having your cake and eating it too. And please also take note that Irv admittedly cheated on his wife with 3 other women, which he stated in that specific Drink Champs episode. This is a case of a man who is still grasping for some kind of possession and for the right to remain in control of the narrative. So no, ladies, this is not love. This is toxic insecurity. And a man who cannot let go of his Chihuahua barking rejection energy when he is being paid dust. And ladies, please take mental note that there is true power in learning how to ignore a person who seems to be hell-bent on continuing to destroy your reputation by any means necessary by falsely telling the world that he made her in an attempt to gain some very weak worship for himself, which unpacked is a deeper indication of how completely unhinged and committed that he has been in stunting both her growth and her potential in order to keep her trapped inside of his imaginary dungeon. I also wanted to highlight this fact, and some feathers will be ruffled to hear this, but strategically, and this is weaponization 101, but strategically, Irv Gotti feels entitled to drag Ashanti because she is publicly unpartnered and has been for some time, and she doesn't have children. So he clearly sees her as a woman and as an easy target who doesn't have any significant male protection. And this is his cheap shot way of using her social positioning against her, and is the reason why it is so very commendable that Fat Joe, in the very least, made a public attempt to come to her defense. Now, from the outside looking in, Irv just seems to be very emotionally abusive and smothering and very corny and very juvenile and very petty with a massive fragile ego, which is honestly a testimony as to how a man can be so wildly successful on paper and still very much be insecure to the bone. And this is a lesson for those of you who are blinded by the bag. Yes, ladies, rich men can be very insecure, as insecure people will always have a very desperate warpath need to control others. And he's probably the kind of dude who still stalks her IG page to this day, looking for something and anything to weaponize in an attempt to lower her public status and her stature, because clearly she is still living rent-free in this runt's mind. Now, ladies, there are rules to every relationship, whether business, pleasure, or personal, and this is very important for women to truly understand. So Ashanti's best bet is to continue to pay this low-value man and his cheap grab for relevancy dust while on her 949th tropical vacation. Feminine strategy-wise, the pettiness of clapping back will only present itself as an amateur rookie move on her part that will only make this douchebag go harder in the paint of spilling even more aggressive tea while he continues to flaunt the fact that he still owns her original masters. Checkmate. Power-wise, if Ashanti is to respond, which she shouldn't, but her best bet move is to respond with legal counsel for her next power move. Ladies, if you choose to respond to antics, always respond with power and muscle, Cardi B style. And when you decide to sever a shady relationship, never look back, as this is how you protect both your womanhood and your power. And the final lesson to learn in this womanhood case study is that the name of today's game is all about clout, as negative attention has tremendous trade value. But always keep in mind, ladies, that when you don't feed your ex attention, he will always starve. So that is all that I have to say on this for now. Irv Gotti needs to apologize, but as of right now, it's giving when hell freezes over and the 32nd of Never Worry. But ladies and lurkers, to get this conversation started, have you ever been in a relationship where a person feels entitled to control you? Have you ever been in a situationship that you highly, highly regret? And have you ever dated an insecure man? And lastly, was Ashanti ultimately wrong for sleeping with a married man, and does she owe him any loyalty? And as always, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more case study and power play videos to come. And I will catch up with you ladies and lurkers and ear hustlers in the next one.